MouseHunt, welcome to Feedback Friday. I'm Dave. Today is April 17, 2020. Hello to everybody in the chat. How's everybody doing today? Ray says hello to you as well. KDM, hello. Brian. Salim, hello. Monica. Ryan, hey, right back at ya. Good morning, Lady Nutsy. Good morning to you as well. It is 11 a.m. here where I am. Mark says good afternoon. Well, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending where you are in the world. Today, I wanted to go over, get some feedback, get some suggestions, and some input on tournament hall mice. We have been working on this due to popular demand. We're moving some of the Great Nanian Games mice from event mice to regular mice by adding them to the tournament hall. It's been a popular suggestion for quite some time. We kind of left it on the back burner because I think we always wanted to do something a little more creative. Like we thought, we could overhaul the tournament hall or tie it in with some sort of tournament update and things that we just kind of don't have time for. But it's been a little bit awkward because here's these mice that you cannot collect or work on a King's Crown for. So with that in mind, we're just using the primary goal of making them available again somehow by putting them into the tournament hall. We're going to do that by having the regular mice, the mice that are already at the tournament hall, drop runny cheese, which was used in the Great Nanian Games as well. And when you arm your runny cheese, that's going to bring about the Great Nanian Games mice. They're going to have their strength, points, and gold adjusted to be appropriate for apprentice level area as well. And then finally, the Extreme Every Sports mouse will very infrequently drop a single tournament token. So it's kind of a little nod to the area, as well as providing a way, if you're 1 or 2 tokens away from something that you're looking to buy, there's a way to grab 1 or 2 tokens in between tournaments. But like I said, the primary goal is getting them added to the tournament hall so that they're available to collect, available to work on King's Crowns. Now the Great Nanian Games is kind of a retired event, and even when we're doing it, it happens somewhat infrequently as well. Salim says, create a stadium games area with tracks, snow, and pool. See, that was kind of on our mind, right? And I think it was a popular suggestion for a number of years to get the mice added to the tournament hall or Valor in some way. And we just never kind of got around to it because it was never a huge priority, and we were always thinking, well, we'll do something creative, something bigger and fun. And so we kind of came up with a compromise, at least for now, just get them into the tournament hall in a pretty straightforward way. Now that's it. What we need feedback and input and suggestions on is that approach, as well as this was an opportunity to look through some of the other Great Nanian Games content there is and try to decide how, if at all, we bring those items back as well. So the things that come to mind are the Great Nanian Games journal theme and its scrap pieces. Whether you'd like to see that in the general store, similar to what we did with the football journal theme, or maybe we add the scraps as drops from the various tournament hall mice as well. You can assemble the theme, much like you could during the event, if I recall correctly. As well as there are athlete charms and torch charms as well, which were associated with the Great Nanian Games, and we've kind of had a little bit of internal dialogue. I was even in the Feedback Friday channel on Wednesday in Discord. Had a little Feedback Wednesday to kind of get some initial impressions, thoughts, suggestions as well of, should we do anything with those charms, and if anything, we'd want it to be pretty quick and easy as well. Even like somebody pointed out in the chat, and I lost where it was, but oh yeah, Swift, prefer the save dev time for floating islands. That's exactly it. There's so much to work on. We wanted to keep this pretty small scale, and it was kind of a good thing once we kind of made a to-do list of it and kind of spec'd out, okay, what would we have to do to make that happen? It was even a good candidate for something to work on. Kind of at the end of the day, you got 30, 60 minutes left. You don't want to start something major. I could pick that up, work on it for an hour, and then come back to it maybe a couple days later when I have some more free time as well. Stejan says, I see charms that pop into things I press like. Yeah, the torch charms, they were, I don't know if they came out before or after unstable charms, but they work in a similar manner. And Cecilia mentioned the Great Nanian Games journal theme as well. So we do want to make that available. Let mice drop Larry's Footlocker too. Let me jot that down. I mean, unrelated event. That was called, was it Larry's Football Challenge, I believe. It's another retired event. Now that one didn't have any unique mice, so that one's a little less awkward that it's retired, but it's definitely a problem. There's been these mice and you haven't been able to capture them. I think for 3 years was the last time we ran that event. And so there have been these event mice, and maybe you just joined a couple of years ago and you're noticing, well, my event mouse collection, I can't complete it. What's going on? So it's long overdue, but that said, kind of the primary vision of it is we're trying to keep it pretty low scope so that we can fit it in without taking time away from working on new adventures. Vin Tang says, keep more little things coming and spend time cooking this COVID lockdown. Yeah, every little entertainment distraction things you can do for home help for sure. Even today, we're all working from home at HitGrab, obviously, and even today I got out of my home office because I'm getting kind of sick of that room. So I'm up here, I'm sitting in my kitchen, just to have a change of scenery. As well as I think it's probably the brightest lit room, so it's probably okay for streaming, minus I'm sitting in front of a window, but that isn't exactly ideal lighting. Daniel says after, if not wrong. Okay, see, that would be an interesting little piece of trivia as well, as what was released first, the Torch Charm or the Unstable Charm. They're very similar, but the Torch Charm has a more curated list of things it pops into. The Footlockers can be retired soon, or as well, says Swift. How about Larry's Footlocker being a reward for completing an adventure type in the quest zone? We're open to that, but again, I think that was sort of what blocked us in the past from adding the mice to the tournament hall. Was we wanted to do an adventure, we wanted to overhaul the area, we wanted to add a heads-up display, a little bit of gameplay, make it a little more fun and interesting, and just kind of as history, or as the years went on, history proved that that was maybe a little too ambitious of us to try while we're also working on other things. So I think the compromise there was to try to keep it simple. In some ways, it feels like an old school MouseHunt area. There's no HUD. You collect cheese, you arm that cheese, and you get a different tier of mice that are a little bit more rewarding, at least for apprentice level. Hundred says, I've been playing for 10 years, still no leprechaun for my collection if you want to help out, Dave. I don't have a leprechaun for my collection either, so we're all at the mercy of the randomness of the rainbow, I guess. K&M asks, is there a date when this spring egg hunt ends? I'm late to the party. Yes, actually. I should put up a ticker about that. I'll make a note here. Let me open up a calendar because I am notoriously bad with dates, and I need to read it to not make a mistake here. So the Spring Egg Hunt 2020 ends is slotted for May 6, 2020 at 11 a.m. Roughly speaking, anyway. It's kind of sometimes usually when we end an event, we wait until at least 11 a.m. our time. It's the same time Feedback Friday starts. Though sometimes when we're starting an event or launching new content, we might do that a little bit early. If we're all kind of hands on deck, everyone's got their coffee in them, we're just kind of sitting around waiting for 11 o'clock, we might pull the trigger a little sooner. That does put the egg hunt at 4 weeks as well. If I recall. I'm not looking at a calendar for that, so I very well could make a mistake. I'm quite bad with dates. Matthew says we need a virtual games mouse with all the virtual races going on at the moment. Yeah, again, that kind of goes back to it. I think we'd even want to add a few more sports mice, but we're just trying to, I guess, again, the primary focus, make those mice available for capture in some way. But anyone else have any other ideas? Would you like to see the athlete or the torch charms come back? We're having kind of internal discussions as well as getting input from Discord players as well, and now on Feedback Friday. A few different ideas came around where maybe the athlete charms could stay, just keep their regular stats and occasionally drop from the Naughty and Games mice as a small reward for apprentice. It's a little awkward because you don't have access to the charm conduit there. So in some ways that maybe isn't quite ideal. Another suggestion was you arm the athlete charms, and now the mice occasionally drop torch charms, and that's kind of a way to. And then the torch charms, when you use them, they turn into other charms. So it's kind of a final cash out. I think from discussing on the team, we want to get kind of more suggestions and input from players as well. Get your impressions. Maybe somebody has a great idea, but I think we're leaning towards maybe not doing anything with them, at least for now. And then if the perfect idea comes around a little later, I wouldn't be opposed to adding that down the road. Jonathan doesn't have a leprechaun. Alima doesn't have a leprechaun. Hugh has 2 leprechauns. That's you've used all your RNG for the rest of the year then, probably. The rest of the decade, perhaps. Tima says, I love charms that pop, so yes, keep it. Maybe buy Torch Charm with tournament tokens. Yeah, that's another use as well. You could just add them to the tournament hall shop. And also kind of skirt around the apprentice level awkwardness, because charms aren't even accessible to apprentices, but there's certainly other charms in the tournament hall shop, and kind of the focus of that shop is for everyone throughout the game. There's things of varying levels of usefulness. Tor says, yeet the athlete charms. Move the King's Arms to the same rank requirement as the Mountain. Well, this would be the tournament hall, not the King's Arms. Can Dragon Shards be turned in for anything, asks Diamond. Not at the moment, but we do want to run the Dragon Shard mini-event in the not-too-distant future. So if you hold on to them, you'll be able to cash them in for the Sparkling Egg Nests. What else is there? I believe you can buy the leaves. It's been a little bit. I'm sure somebody in the chat will probably know. I know kind of the main cash out is the Sparkling Dragon Shard Nests. Those are pretty juicy. Well, originally we were going to run the Egg Hunt with the Dragon Shard mini event, as well as Big Jack running at the same time, to kind of spice things up, forgive the pun. But then as we kind of put that together, it just felt a little bit too Queso Canyon centric. It felt like the Egg Hunt was taking place in Queso Geyser, or Queso Canyon, or throughout the whole region. So we decided to kind of forego that. Now the Dragon Shard egg, it has other stuff in it, but you always get a Dragon Shard when you open it up. You can hold on to those for the next time we run the Dragon Shard mini event. I think you can expect as well when the Egg Hunt comes to an end, that's the end of event season, and then the next kind of big thing we have in the pipeline is a high level area, but it's going to be a little while we develop that. So I think it's reasonable to assume you can expect a few mini events as well to kind of be turning on to keep a couple new goals here and there for people who are looking for something to accomplish. Maybe you don't quite know what goal you want to set for yourself. You can have some mini events as well to sink your teeth into. Maybe add a Hall of Fame for the Tournament Hall for Best 10 and Team Hunter Total Trophy just for fun and prestige. Yeah, that'd be a fun idea. I think with a tournament overhaul, which has definitely been on the back burner for a long time, it's just kind of the thing that's never quite been able to been made a priority. Any timeline on Big Jack? No timeline per se, but if hunters are not opposed, I think we'd like to run Big Jack and the Dragon Shard mini event. Maybe a couple of the mini events. A few of them are pretty turnkey, pretty easy to launch. Typically just maybe need a news post, a couple wall posts, a little bit of promotion work done there. But in terms of getting the gameplay up and running, most of them are you flip a switch and they turn on. More Ellie traps that are craftable with old school items, like the Nutcracker Nuisance splintered wood. Yeah, that's an interesting idea as well. The Cack-o'-lantern trap with a Venus Husk Digby drill parts could be a fun way to spice things up. Just those kind of funny traps that incorporate normal crafting items. Yeah, we always have a little bit of tug of war on the team of crafting versus no crafting. I feel like some people love it, some people hate it. And there's always a lot of back and forth whether or not crafting should be used for much. And so we kind of, I think I see a similar sort of sentiment even throughout players. Some players enjoy it, some players are kind of indifferent to it. So we use it a little bit here and there, something for everyone. Dave forgot they're supposed to be chocolate eggs, not queso eggs. Well, there's no rules. You could bite into a delicious egg and queso comes out. You need a serviette for that one. I'd love some time just to get through more of my lightning maps. Well, your opportunity will come. By no means is there going to be, the mini events aren't mandatory by any stretch of the imagination, so you'll have a pretty good stretch after event season to work on some maps if you like. Mini events like Franz, I don't know if she qualifies as that, but no word from her yet. 99% of spring hunt eggs don't look like chocolate. Yeah. They could just be painted eggs even. I mean, that's kind of a very springtime thing to do as well. You just take yourself a normal egg and you dye it or you paint it up something fancy. Doesn't always have to be chocolate. Waiting for the good old tournaments with multipliers to make a glorious return. Maybe one day. We'll see. Can you put her in a retreat option for the mausoleum? That's a good suggestion. Especially during the spring egg hunt, I could see that coming up as a suggestion. I haven't started Valor Rift. Need 3 more TSR time split runes. You're quizzing my abbreviation knowledge. Any thoughts about buffing Sparkling Dragon Shard Nest Loot? It was amazing when it first came out, but now we have Queso Canyon Grand Tour chests and Big Jack plants to make them look not as worth. The worth as an adjective. No, I mean, probably not, right? That'd be a little bit, if it's not broken, don't fix it, or if it's, doesn't need to kind of randomly just improve everything more and more over time. So, yeah, I mean, take it as it was. It's a bonus to your hunting as well for not really going out of your way, and that's what a lot of the mini events are as well. Like for a limited time, you get a little boost in an area. Is it possible to add the premium shop the option to see if you already have the trap you are about to buy? I assume you mean skin. Yeah, that would be good. Kind of a you currently have right in the premium shop. I'm tempting fate by loading the game while streaming, but we'll see here. May as well sound my horn while I'm here. All right. I have 40 shattering charms I need to use up. Yeah, so like looking at a skin here, I could see that. You click it. And yeah, it'd be nice to have a you our own there. That's a pretty good little quality of life suggestion. I love crafting, but not figuring out recipes. Yeah, and that's kind of been the compromise with crafting, for the most part anyway, is having a HUD that has the recipe accessible, utilizing the recipe book a little bit more. Even like years ago, the Living Garden HUD, how it has that recipe book, that could even serve as inspiration to have a lot more, play up that, have more of the game tasks you can do to unlock a recipe, fill out your recipe book. Event season, so you need to wait for Halloween. That marks the beginning of event season as Halloween, and the end is the spring egg hunt. So we're coming to the end of event season, and that's when we kind of shift gears and we're really focused on creating new areas, new adventures, more permanent areas. Crafting is better for, I have to read the chat faster. Crafting is better for lower levels where you can gatekeep recipes by crafting slots. For higher levels, just better to sell directly using the requirements for the shop. One of the rule of thumbs we've been kind of using, be interesting to hear what players think, is if it's something that you need to use or you're likely to use in multiple areas throughout the game, then we look to crafting a bit more because you can craft wherever you are. If it's something that's very area specific or even a regional kind of centric, then we look to the shop. Because you'll probably be there anyway, so you can go to the shop and pick up the item. So something like a charm that you craft that just has basic stat bonuses, no area-specific effect or specific use there, something like that might be better for crafting, because then no matter where you are, you can craft that charm and go ahead and use it. You don't have to remember what area you go to buy it from the shop and then go back to where you were to utilize it. IFL says, maybe make joining a tournament part of the adventure for Tournament Hall area becomes an intro to tourneys rather than, hey, it's an area with mice, which confuses newbies for progression. Well, we definitely tried the adventure book to help that out, so you have a kind of a more clear-cut path, or if you're not quite sure what to do next, you can take on the next adventure in the adventure book. That said, again, until we can kind of return to it and do something a little bit more creative with it, I don't think we would add an adventure to the tournament hall, especially because that would probably also mean we need to create a HUD in that. So that would turn what's probably 10 or 12 hours of work into 100 hours of work. And then that's kind of time we can't spend on other more impactful areas. KDM says, can you add you are XXX steps away from total eclipse in the HUD on the web? Yes, actually, that was added this week. So the tooltip has changed in the Valor Rift, and now you can see the number of steps you are away from the next eclipse or total eclipse. George says, I've not completed Season 7. Events keep getting in the way. Well, by all means, feel free to take a break as well, especially with the Super Brief Factory event. We were trying something that there isn't a whole lot of time pressure. There isn't a big, important thing to complete. You can sort of go at your own pace. The rewards were very quick to unlock, and then you can earn a little more Super Brief for participating. But we're going for an event that it didn't have as much fear of missing out, if you will, if you left and went to pursue your own side goals. That's something like Relic Hunter. You may also need some friends to help you out with the maps if you really want to get going at a good clip there. So I could see that also being a bit of a downside to it, of trying to get away to work on a collaborative goal like that. Caleb says, is it possible to make Minotaur bosses drop loot such as Infused Plate, Power Core Hammer, and Sacred Skip smashable to become plates of fealty? Yeah, that's it. Actually, if you just have no interest in making a Minotaur key. Hate Raid says, any chance on another area being the size of Tribal Isles or the Twisted Guard? Love the huge areas with a lot to do. Well, this is kind of what we're aiming at with the next release. Now, it is still a single area, but I've kind of had that itch as well for an adventure that spans multiple locations. I know it's been a little bit while now, but we actually did a poll we put up on our Facebook wall because we're looking for feedback whether players like the types of areas or adventures that involve multiple areas. So again, think Tribal Isles, think the Living Twisted Garden, Capturing Twisted Carmine adventure, versus the ones where you're more camped out at a single location. And that did play a role into Queso Canyon as well. We wanted to add that because it's a little down the middle. Some players liked it, some players were kind of indifferent to it. So Queso Canyon was an opportunity to add that kind of adventure where you collect something in one area, you bring it to the next, and you go back. Any future plans to do a Dragon Slayer canon skin? Jacob did get started on one. I don't recall if he finished it or not, but it might be part of Relic Hunter Season 8, because I think it took on a gilded theme, which is something we usually wait for the Relic Hunter season to do. Mitchell says, I had a dream on a Rift ambush trap that uses all 3 Chi heirlooms and a ton of battery fragments. Get a supercharged droid going, maybe. Dave, add in more feature for tournament rewards. That is definitely on the to-do list, but again, it's been tricky. And Feedback Friday and the Facebook page, Discord, and all the ways we get to interact with players is a very useful tool to kind of help keep these things in the back of our mind, as well as when we kind of get ready to move on the next thing, or we're planning out the roadmap to kind of help make decisions on what to prioritize. So I mean, at the moment, a tournament overhaul and new rewards has been not as high on the priority list as new high-level areas. But it's tough. I mean, at times it's frustrating because we're a small team, and I feel like there's just so much we want to do, but there's just not enough time to do it all. Yeah? I know I've joked around, like, wouldn't it be cool if we could freeze time, get a bunch of work done, and then like unfreeze time, and it's all done in a blink of an eye. I haven't quite mastered that magic power yet, I guess. Caleb says, Jonathan says to Caleb, I am really not keeping up with chat. Make the Minotaur key. Keep keys anyway. The main issue is if you've got way too many on one end is not enough for the others. Sending an unreasonable number of Winter Golems to Zolkor. Yeah, that will stockpile them in a hurry, probably. Okay, so it's 4 power types over 4 areas after all. Yeah, so that was a good example. It kind of had that Tribal Isles feel. So now this next, it's probably going to be Archduke. What we're kind of the working title of the Floating Islands is going to be a single location, so it won't have that kind of spanning, but it'll still be quite massive in terms of traveling within the area. So there's lots of different phases and things to do. There's a phase where you're collecting cheese, and there's a phase where you go and you visit different islands where there's different mice who are to different power types. So if that all kind of comes together as planned anyway, that should have a similar feeling, but without the need to actually travel to different locations. It all happens within the HUD, so you can think of it along the lines of maybe Fort Rocks, where there's day and there's night, but you don't travel, or even to a degree, like something like Bristlewood's Rift, where there's different rooms that you're traveling through, but you also see where you are on the HUD. You don't actually have to travel to a different location, which is also nice, at least the way hunting with friends works, in that you're going to be able to hunt with your friends a little bit easier. Bottled Samurai says, not sure if I understood Dave, but I agree that location-specific items are bought in shops where general purpose are crafted. Yeah, for the most part, that's how things are. There might be a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, that's kind of the rule of thumb we use anyway. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's kind of, if we can't decide where it should go in the shop or crafting, we think, well, do you only use it in this area, or does it have a super strong identity to that area? Another way to think about it, after the release is over and done with and it's kind of old news, when you look at that item, do you think, yeah, you know what, I know where to go to get that item? Whereas there might be others that have a little bit more of a generic feel, and you're like, where do I buy that again? Which charm shop? Merge Big Jack with Dragon Shard? Probably not. We might run them both at the same time. I think they would be compatible for the most part. We have to test out to see, because I think they both add things to the shop page. So we'd have to test out to see if there are any ill consequences of running them both at the same time. I don't think we'd formally combine them, but we might be able to run them at the same time. Jonathan says, can we add a type of queso to unlockable cheese from the King's Cart or King's Calibrator, maybe, or either or? That is on the to-do list with every major release that we do, or even events. We review the Calibrator and the King's Cart, but typically it's something we wait until till the area is kind of old. And just kind of, I probably even brought it up on Feedback Friday before, but in any game with, like, MouseHunt's 12 years old, and there is a massive amount of content, and so there's both a good and a bad side of somebody who just starts playing today. They've got, this 12 years of content in front of them. Not that it'll take them 12 years, but they have all the content that has been produced over 12 years ahead of them. And so the Calibrator and the King's Cart, in some ways, are ways to make some of the older areas just slightly shorter, so that the amount of time it takes you to go from the start to the end of the game is a little bit more of a reasonable time frame. At least that's sort of the canonical goals, that main sort of storyline progression, while always leaving lots of sort of side quests and little side objectives, things like King's Crown, or there might be an area that doesn't unlock another area, but you go there to complete the mouse collection. And so that's why we kind of wait till some of the areas are a little bit older and they're in need of that kind of squishing it down a little bit to keep the overall length of the game something that's kind of reasonable to expect someone to do if they just start playing. Catch the Chrono Mouse to help you freeze time. I'll try it, Daniel. I'll try it. Can we get a open all eggs button? That would be kind of neat. We can put that. We've been collecting lots of suggestions and feedback for the 2021 egg hunt. That might need a confirm. I know some people like to, even though you can see them in the excavator, just kind of keep them in your inventory. Just looking nice, so you can look at a tab and look at all these items you could potentially open if you want. So that might be a scary button for some people. I know as well, Giorgio, what did he suggest? He had a good suggestion. I can't remember what it is. I know he wrote it down, though. I saw it was logged in the 2021 milestone. It had to do with opening eggs. Yeah, I can't remember now. Mark asks, how many devs and artists does MH have? Whew, now, I'm gonna have to. I haven't seen everybody in so long now. I feel like distant strangers. Let me see a quick little. I have to picture the office and count desks here. So I got me, Jacob, Lauren, Maxine. So we have 3 artists. And then you go to the next block of desks there, and you've got Parham and Andrew. That's 2 devs. Then you got Giorgio, another dev. Franco, another dev. Then you have Michelle as well. She's overseas. She does the support and some of the community management as well. And I, as always, pray I'm not forgetting anybody. I don't think so. That's why I always go through the desks. Even when we use Slack to chat online, and you make chat rooms, and every release we do, we make a new channel on Slack to discuss it. And then the first thing you need to do is invite everybody. And then I'm always nervous that I'm going to forget to invite somebody to the channel or something. Jerome says, hi Dave, I find that Bristlewood's Rift progression could be boosted more spring egg hunt, perhaps Bristlewood's Rift eggs that could possibly have clockwork cogs. I don't know if the spring egg hunt is something we use to kind of do that the compression that I was talking about earlier. We typically look for something that's a little bit more permanent. That said, we've done it in the past as well. I know Ronza sometimes brings items that make an area a little bit quicker. Even thinking back to kind of original runs, she would just bring back a trap that was probably more powerful than it should be for that point requirement. And that was kind of the early way of kind of compressing it a little bit, because kind of thinking back to 3-year-old MouseHunt, most of the bottleneck was just saving up your gold or earning enough points to move on, upgrade your trap, or waiting for your title upgrade so you can go to the next area. Sharon as well would like the open all but one egg button. That's interesting. Open all but leave one of each. Yeah, Bram says make it ask for a confirmation, please. I don't want to press that button ever. Yeah, might need the scary confirmation where you have to type out a word. There's some services, if you're about to delete your account, or you're about to delete a bunch of important files or settings, that makes you type out something on the screen, or types out the name of the project to get it to delete. Yeah, as Michelle points out, you can click on the question mark there, and there is a way to get it to open up a number that you want. I assume, though, with the open all, it's look at my inventory, get all my spring hunt eggs, crack them all open, all but one of each anyway, as an option, and then show you what you got. Although thinking about that now, that does sound like it might not be too easy to pull off from the code perspective. That could actually be a lot more work than it sounds to also get it to display what you got. It wouldn't be that hard to load them all up and iterate through them and crack them all open. I guess you'd get a whole lot of journal entries you could review, but to put it all in one pop-up, especially if you had hundreds of eggs, that might be a massive pop-up to combine and even digest everything you got. Station says maybe a bit of a weird question, but have you considered using the Discord server for bug reports? That might be a good suggestion for the admins, have kind of a channel of almost like a community support and help or something like that, where somebody can just kind of pop in and say like, hey, this weird thing's happening for anybody else, and then somebody might go, oh, don't worry, it's supposed to be like that, or somebody might go, oh yeah, that's happening for me too. Because as Station says there, it's useful to discuss with others before submitting a ticket. That is good too. If you find something wrong, you can submit a bug report by clicking the help button in the top right corner of the game, select bug report, and then kind of what you had to do to make it happen, or what we call replication or reproduction steps. I like replication because reproduction steps almost sounds like we're doing biology or something here. But that's very important, because that's, as a developer or programmer, when you're sitting down and you're looking at a bug or something's broken, the very first thing you want to do is watch it happen again. You want to reproduce the issue and make it happen so that you can start debugging. You can start adding some breakpoints. You can add messages and look at what variables are set to, that sort of thing. And the chat has jumped down. I'm too slow. Justin says someone has made a Chrome extension that adds an open all but one button. Yeah, that's crossed my mind. Just from my experience of playing other games as well, there's almost like these tiers of functionality and utility. And there's if it's kind of too much, what you might call like power user features, if there's just way too much to do, it might be overwhelming to somebody who's a little newer to the game, or they're just approaching it, and all of a sudden there's a lot of different things they can do, a lot of options and interfaces, and it kind of almost increases the learning curve, or how quickly you become familiar and comfortable with what you're doing. And so sometimes third-party tools and mods, that's a good use of more experienced players who have kind of mastered parts of how you play the game. Now they can add an extra layer on top to add that level of efficiency. There's also kind of a psychological shift that happens in a lot of games like MouseHunt, or a lot of like RPG-style games, where in the beginning your goals are almost more about fun and exploration, or there's sort of the whimsy and the awe, the wonder of the universe and being immersed within that game. And then as time goes on, your goals start to shift a little bit. You start to set goals for yourself. You start to set a lot longer goals that are going to take you longer to achieve. And your kind of priority shifts from exploration to more kind of most effective tactics, kind of in a way, because you're setting harder goals for yourself. And so that's kind of interesting. Until that shift happens, some of those features might be a little overwhelming, or might not make sense to a newer player because they're not at that point where they're starting to set more lofty goals for themselves. KDM says, will the King's Gauntlet eventually get all the eggs for each floor like its rift counterpart. Yeah, I don't know. For sure, kind of even in 20, it could be a 2021 suggestion. And as we get ready for the egg hunt, we usually start kind of getting ideas for new eggs, and Feedback Friday forums and Discord are a great channel to suggest those. So it's a little bit informal, but often we just kind of see what some of the vocal feedback coming from players are, and we kind of, that goes into our subconscious mind a little bit while we're making some decisions and prioritizing. So it's good to kind of keep bringing up suggestions, especially around the time that the event's going to start, and that kind of puts it, the seed of inspiration in their minds. Daniel says, can we have teddy bear back? I think there's still a way to get the teddy bear, isn't there? Ryan says, will team leaderboards ever come back even if we have to start from scratch? Team leaderboards, I'm not quite sure what you mean. I know that some of the scoreboards were unfortunately lost or had to be reset. Maybe referring to the trophies, there was a bit of a shift because we lost the data about how many trophies each team had earned. So now when you look at a profile, it is the combination of the trophies of all the current members on that team. So if I earn a gold trophy and then I join a brand new team, that team has 1 gold trophy. If I leave, now they have 0. And so we're, for the time being, we're leaving the open to feedback. We're kind of leaving things the way they are there. Keith says, question, where should I hunt for more gold? P.S. I'm in the Lord rank. Well, typically, whatever highest level area you have access to is going to be pretty good gold, but there might be kind of some niche stuff to look for as well. You might be able to go to other areas. The marketplace is a good tool for that as well. You could look at areas you have access to, and is there anything you could sell on the market for a little bit of gold as well. Sometimes that's a good way if your goal is specifically gold. Brian says for Lord, Nani Express Station if you have a decent launch out. That's actually a great suggestion. I know the Nani Express, that was one of the things I was being put together, was for the Lord level, make it a pretty good spot to earn some gold if you keep doing trains. Max says, how hard was the open nest? The one could also have a lot of entries in it. Not sure what you mean there. Caleb says, are there plans to expand on the old and existing areas such as Tribal Isles, Jungle of Dread, and Dracano, etc.? I think that can be firmly filed under the wow, do we ever want to do that? And we wish we had more time to get it done. But for sure, for years, we've wanted to add HUDs to all the areas in Tribal Isles, kind of smooth out some of the gameplay there just a little bit. Some things are a little bit, it's just kind of cumbersome, like planting the seeds in the pots. It's starting to feel very dated gameplay at that point. So if there's a way in the HUD that you could manage your little farm or little, you have a little plot where you're growing peppers, kind of reduce some of the complexities of the color theory going on there and make the Jungle of Dread a little easier to approach. But definitely kind of some of that gameplay showing its age a little bit. We've certainly learned how to smooth that out over the years. By team leaders, I meant teams with the most gold trophies. Unfortunately, we did lose that data. We'd have to start over, but that would mean we'd also have to kind of change how it works out profile. So we're gonna hold off for a bit. It'd definitely be a right candidate for if we ever did a tournament overhaul. And again, there's been some enthusiasm for that. It's just kind of been a bandwidth issue. Session says, do you plan to add new skins to Valor Rift? Both skins on there now are cheaper on the marketplace than the store, so those patterns are quite useful. Well, they might bounce back a little bit as the popularity of the Valor Rift fades a little bit, but at the moment, no plans to add any skins, no. Daniel says we should have a trap to commemorate Eileen's achievement in the new trap season. Well, that might be something that's good just to kind of leave to the community to honor more than in-game itself. Brian says, Jacob says he wants to nuke the Tribal Isles. Yeah, Jacob has not a lot of love for the Tribal Isles. It's a little bit polarizing, but when we look at it, actually, players do pretty well in the Tribal Isles, actually. So I think it could definitely use a HUD, because it's a tendency to get lost. There's a lot of items to keep track of and kind of keep straight in your head which way you're supposed to be going and what you're supposed to do with everything. But so I think it needs a little bit of love to smooth it out, but I don't think it needs to be deleted outright. Oh, that coffee's right out. I already turned it upside down. Upside down, inside out. Just have to make 2 pots a day, I guess. Send this coffee. Working from home, I'm drinking endless coffee. I've never gone through coffee so fast. And to make matters worse, trying to go to the grocery store maybe once every 2 weeks. You know, just that's the one time I get to leave the house, go to the grocery store. And so last time I filled up these bags of coffee, and I think I'm going through like a pound of beans a week. It's insanity. Strong says the Tribal Isles are one of the more interesting expansions in my opinion. Yes, so I don't know. I think Jacob's opinion might be an unpopular one in that the Tribal Isles needs to be removed. But I definitely agree it needs some HUDs. It needs a little gameplay help. Oh, Oramu says, how about a rift area for the Dread Islands or a rift area for Tribal Isles? That would probably be the next rift release we do. At least that's the intention at the moment. But it would be a big one because there'd be a lot of mice. It's a big area, so probably a fairly big expansion of the rift plane. KDM says, recode the Fiery Warpath. Yep, that as well is showing its age, at least from a technical level. I think the very first area with kind of a special gameplay and HUD was Zugzwang's Tower. And then I think the Fiery Warpath was not long thereafter, if I recall correctly. Just because the way those areas are set up in the code are quite different than some of the new areas. We've sort of, over the years, we've iterated and refined our approach and found a way that works really well. Daniel says, so we have the true garbage island then. Jason loves the Isles. Keep shouting your love for the Isles. Protect them. I don't want to see them go. So I need backup from players that the Tribal Isles is actually a lot cooler than some other devs think it is. And keep doing tug of war on it a little bit. Jonathan says coffee. I always preferred tea. Well, I'm a fan of both. Depends on the hour of day. I think coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon, and then maybe some caffeine-free tea in the evening. Brian says with so much coffee around your laptop must be sweating. That's true. It doesn't even have a lid on my coffee. That's scary. Game says, Geo, that would mean Geo lives with Dave. Well, on that note, we could go to trivia. And Giorgio specifically requested that I let you know he says hi, he misses you all very much, and that he hopes he gets to interrupt Feedback Friday again really soon. So he says hi to everybody. And that's usually about the mark where Giorgio comes storming in. Yeah, Scribdes says Fire Repress seemed cool when I joined last year. Didn't think it was a bad idea. I had to check the wiki for Tribal Isles though. Definitely needs an upgrade. That's the thing. It needs a HUD because without that, you're just like, what do you do? I guess you could read Larry's tips and deduce that. Maybe get out a notepad and start writing everything down. Basically, make your own HUD on paper. But outside of that, without a HUD, you're a little bit lost there. But actually, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we've been going through the game in order. So. We overhauled the meadow, we overhauled the town in Anya, the windmill, the mountain, mausoleum, and burrows. I think we'd probably do Whisker Woods next. And just in terms of new players joining the game, if you're kind of think of it in terms of a funnel, which is a pretty common term there, you want the more effort you put toward the top of the funnel, the more players get down below. So usually your best bet is to try to improve something earlier in the game than later in the game in terms of getting new players through it. And actually, when we looked at the Tribal Isles, the players who get there, they get through it pretty well, actually. So it might be an indicator, kind of like Scrib said there in the chat, of at that point, you've sort of graduated, you've started to use the wiki a little bit, and you're a little more comfortable taking on loftier goals. So I don't know, that might be a theory of what's happening there. IFL says split screen with Giorgio. That might be fun, actually. I've been meaning to upgrade my streaming software, and that might make that possible because this software is a little bit archaic. I'm surprised it hasn't crashed yet, to be honest. All right, on that note, we will go to the trivia, or as Giorgio puts it, the quar, the question, the answer, the reward, and figure out how to put up the question here. Fade in all nicely there. Which 2 eggs sometimes contain crystal crucibles when open? I'm talking about spring egg hunt eggs. I don't know what other eggs we have in the game, but yeah, spring egg hunt eggs. 12 is incorrect. Yeah, Sharon mentioned there she liked how the name of the islands were all the colors spelled backwards for the most part. Der was a bit of an exception there, but just pronounced easier with 2 R's. KDM, you have one of them correct with the crystal behemoth egg. And Trevor's oh so close, but I want the full name of the egg. And I think Brian might come in first there. The cave diamond egg crystal behemoth egg. I think Brian is first with the first 2 full names. So because somebody got it right in the chat, which has always happened, except for when I have the wrong answer written down, which happens more often than you'd think. We'll put up a reward link. I'll paste that in the chat as well. And there are some spring egg hunt related rewards. You can thank Brian, and honorable mention to KDM and Trevor as well. Both those eggs, they have a chance of containing crystal crucibles, but not guaranteed. They both can be found in the fungal cavern, which makes sense. That's where you would otherwise crystal crucibles. So if you're looking to build your labyrinth key, if you don't have that yet, spring egg hunt's a good time to get a couple crystal crucibles a little faster than normal. Script says, might be an idea to survey newer players, just a suggestion that might help. Yeah, it's definitely kind of been something we've been wanting to do more. We had some success with it in the past, doing surveys. It was a great way to get player feedback. Found that more players would engage with that than something like the forums, Facebook page, Discord. Maybe it's just the extra kind of cognitive effort required in actually typing out your response. Articulating your opinion versus like a multiple choice question is a little bit easier. Brian says, I thought I was getting a rib from Larry. Not quite, no. It was close to a rib, though. 2 or 3 shovels. I forget what Larry put together there. I think 2 or 3 egg sweeper shovels are at that link there. And actually, kind of that reminds me to make sure you follow us on Facebook as well, because all the egg hunt related Facebook posts, well, maybe not all of them, but I think the vast majority of them, except maybe 1 or 2 as an exception there, they have egg sweeper shovels attached as rewards. So Larry's handing out plenty of egg sweeper shovels on the Facebook page. Johnson says, thank goodness the reward wasn't a crystal crucible. They're rather useless now. There's something more useful to be done with them. Yeah, that's kind of been the brainstorming. We've never found quite the right idea. And I think someone joked earlier in the chat with Garbage Island, and that we were looking, that's what we kind of call anytime we're brainstorming an area that uses a lot of kind of hodgepodge items from previous areas. But it's kind of tricky to get it just right. It almost feels like it needs to be not an area, because eventually that area becomes old news, or you know, you've accomplished everything you need to in that area, and then you're back to square one. You have these items. So I think it almost needs to be something more impactful in the game, like a way to like augment traps, or like upgrade your shield for temporary buffs, or something that you take with you from area to area, and you're always using. That way, it always remains useful for now and forever. Ryan says, Trevor and I each had parts of Cave Diamond. Yep, you're close. The Cave Egg and the Diamond Egg. Jonathan says, if all fails, can we smash excess crystal crucibles into minerals? That's a pretty darn good suggestion, actually. I don't know why we never thought of that before. Because then you can kind of start at like kind of a little higher rung within the fungal cavern to get going again. Minerals as well, that's something we've been experimenting a little bit with, where they kind of get carried forward a little bit. They had a very small role to play in MouseHunt. Glowing Gruyere, Fungus, and Nightshade as well. We were kind of trying that out, where maybe a cheese is useful for a few areas, kind of along a sort of storyline, or a similar themed area, or an area that's very closely related to unlocking another one. Can they be smashed into spore charms or something? Actually, that is the use of crystal crucibles, but I think the rest of the recipe is perhaps a little bit too demanding to make the ultimate spore charm. Hindsight, could have been a little easier to craft, more accessible, so you could use up the crystal crucibles a little bit quicker without going so much out of your way. KDM says, will working from home slow down development of future areas like floating islands for the dev? Well, it's been a bit of a learning experience. It's been I kind of, as we adapt our processes a little bit, One of the silver linings, though, we're somewhat used to working remotely because once a week, usually Thursdays, everyone works from home as well. It's kind of a remnant of when the office moved to downtown Toronto. A lot of us were not living there. I still don't live in downtown Toronto, so it's kind of nice to take a break from the commute. It takes me about an hour to get to work. And so like once or twice a day, we're already working remotely, so we kind of had something to leverage there. But it's definitely been a kind of a transition period for some of the more collaborative work. I know I'd even go so far when I'm looking through my tasks, I would specifically put them on my calendar for Thursday because I know like, okay, that's a great work from home task. I don't really need help from anybody else. I can just kind of put my head down and go at it for several hours straight. But some of the more collaborative ones, it's been interesting. We've been using Google Meet. It has good screen sharing as well. We'll put together our brainstorming in a Google document, and then we can screen share it. People can add comments as we go. That can kind of become the meeting notes and the sort of consciousness of a brainstorming session. And it got pretty good too. One of the hard things I find with online chat is you don't have your body language to kind of signal when you're kind of waiting for your turn to speak, and so. Often a meeting with any more than 3 people, there's too many people waiting their turn to speak for too long. It can kind of break down. But yeah, I think we did pretty good there. We were muting our mic and kind of unmuting it would be kind of a good signal. It's like, hey, I want to respond to what you're saying. So it's coming along. So to answer your question, I think it would a little bit as we kind of transition here. But for the most part, I think we're doing a good job of still staying productive in those brainstorming kind of things. Oramaru says recycling island. That would be more eco-friendly than garbage island, I suppose. The recycling center in Nadia. Trevor says some sort of machine that you dump stuff into and spits out items based on what you dump in. For sure, but there's a lot of complexities with that, kind of determining what you get, and then when you put it in, if you get out stuff that you still don't want, I mean, I suppose you could get back a little less than you put in, so you can kind of keep churning it until eventually you find what you want or it's all gone. Francis says, ooh, I love that Crucible being smashable. That idea is getting a lot of love. Asif says, why can't we claim gifts from the Facebook app straight into the game app? So is that clicking? Yeah, it's a bit of a, what's the term for that? I can't remember the term of when you hand off from one app to another. But yeah, it's a little bit of a awkward limitation of the mobile app. So it's another kind of thing that's been chilling out on the back burner for quite some time is to have those links go to kind of a different spot where you can choose how you want to claim it. Do you want to claim it via apps.facebook.com? Do you want to claim it via MouseHuntGame.com? Or do you want to claim it on the mobile app? Depending on how you play the game, because there's a few different ways to play the game, but just haven't, again, it's kind of been the thing that hasn't quite risen to the top of the priority list yet. Ashley Woods asks, what are the drop rates on the new spring egg hunt skins? You know, off the top of my head, I don't know. I know the gold foil mouse drops them, and I think that's the only way to get them at the stockpile locations. Session says, mandatory weekly question about floating islands info. It's coming along here. We have been working, last week, the art team was putting together different HUD concepts, kind of exploring different ways of presenting the areas, and this week as well, then we're kind of refining that a little bit, as well as Jacob's been putting together kind of different little prototypes for ways one of the phase could work, just add a little bit more interesting gameplay there, and so that was going to kind of affect some of the HUD mockups as well. So we're still very much in kind of the scoping out, speccing out, but at least now we finally have an idea that we like. We think it'll work well. It feels very well suited for MouseHunt, and so we're just not quite at that point where. That's one of my favorite parts of starting a new project or a new area is when we finally scope out the whole thing and I can break it all down into little individual tasks and finally kind of project a timeline for whatever reason. Maybe it's just the obsessive organization inside of me where I like to keep everything organized. I kind of like putting everything in its place and seeing like, cool, this is all going to be done right here. So we're not quite there yet though, and that's when we'll have a lot more concrete information, I think. Sharon says, Zoom has a raise hand feature. Yeah, that would be very handy as well. And I think we might try that out in the not too distant future as well. It's just kind of handy because we'll have a Google account already, or we have like the Google Business Suite, if you will, that we use for email. So we already had Meet already set up, good to go. Deep linking, thank you, Jonathan. That is the name for when you take an action in one app and it opens up and handles it in a second app. It is deep linking. That sounds right anyway. That sounds familiar. Do you have the link for non-Facebook? Let me see. I can probably put that together as well. I know the community does a good job as well. I believe there's a forum thread. I haven't been there for a little bit. And on Discord as well, they translate them to mousehuntgame.com, which I think you need a Facebook account to be able to do it, which is kind of defeats the point of turning the link into another. But when you go there, you land on apps.facebook.com/mousehunt. And then somewhere up in your address bar, there is a question mark, and those are URL parameters, as we call them. So you can take the question mark and everything after it, highlight it, copy it, then go to mousehuntgame.com and paste it in there. So you're sending that question mark to mousehuntgame.com instead. And I'm surprised why that didn't work. There we go. And then you could go, yeah, it's a little bit awkward. You have to go to mousehuntgame.com/index.php and paste all that in. Why did that work with just a question mark? It should be fine, right? Maybe it just wasn't logged in. Okay, yeah, that works too. So does it work with the slash? There's 12 years of web development experience, and I'm learning how URL. Oh yeah, it worked with a slash. That was weird. Maybe it was just the initial redirect because I wasn't logged in. But everything after the question mark basically tells the game what gift you're looking to claim. Chips over there. What's going on?
Oranges.
Oh, oranges. That's a healthier option.
It's like the best orange ever.
It's the best orange ever?
Yeah, it's so good.
I have an orange, I guess.
No, it's like a quarter. The orange was huge.
That's a big orange.
Yeah.
Some vitamins here.
It's really good. And like no seeds. Like you picked out a really good orange.
It's a good orange. We're just gonna have an orange in a while. It's a good orange.
Yeah, wait till I make the orange stones.
I will paste the non-MouseHunt link. I got distracted by a delicious orange. That's a game now. Oh, where did I go? I closed it even. Got too excited about an orange. Alright, so this should work here. This is going to be a big... Yeah, that's weird. The first time you go, it redirects. I'm very confused. What have I done? Oh, what have I done? Okay, yep, sorry you have already claimed this gift, so that works. What's this link going to look like? Here we go. So there is the non-Facebook link in the chat as well. So if you play on mousehuntgame.com, that'll work. Curse says, I can't play in Facebook at all anymore. It just doesn't work. That's interesting. I mean, you get in contact with us. If you play on mousehuntgame.com, then you can hit the help button. But be interested to know a little bit more info, whether you just see like a blank white screen, whether there's an error on the page. Script says maybe you could select a region and it would spit out items on that location based on the recycler idea. It's kind of neat on the surface, but there'd be a lot of work would have to go into. You'd have to kind of designate a value to every single item, and then because you wouldn't want to put in something like splintered wood, you can just buy it from the shop. And if you want to get rid of your splintered wood, you can also sell it back to the shop, so you can turn it into gold anyway. But if you got something that was very easy to get, and you could just keep dumping a whole bunch of it in and getting way more harder to get stuff. That would kind of trivialize that stuff. So it would still need that element of a drop table and balancing. And with the sheer number of quantity of items and combinations in the game, it would kind of be hard to pull it off in a concise, meaningful way, and then have to be maintained going forward. It's a fantastic orange. Jeneth asks, is there a way to search players by hunter ID on browser? I do believe so. It's 12 o'clock. I should probably go soon, as I'm eating an orange here. I guess it's lunchtime. But there is a way. If you go to under friends and you go to friend list, let's start there, sure. Under requests, and you go to the request tab, And then you go to connect with Facebook friends. No. Community? Yes. So you go to the community sub tab, and Larry's there to help you out. You can share your profile link. You can meet new friends on the forums. You can connect with other hunters using their ID. So you could paste their ID into that box, hit search. So for instance, I'm hunter ID, well, 1, let's do 2. That's Giorgio. So if I search the number 2, down below it, Giorgio pops in. He's in the Valor Rift. He's a 63% Viceroy, and he is wearing what looks like a Halloween costume. Pinot Giorgio. Yep, it's a giant wine bottle labeled Pinot Giorgio 2009 Oyster Bay. Oyster Bay, is that New Zealand wine or maybe? I think he would have went with a Greek label. Pinot Giorgio. So that's how you can search for it. Or you can click the shield and you go to your own profile. Actually, that's not, yeah. That one would be a little harder to pull off, but when you search and you go to that profile, you could also put their ID up in the URL. It's a little bit more tech savvy of a way to do it, though. Brian says Jacob seems to be the only be drawing law mice on Feedback Friday, so we know we'll be at least needing law traps. Well, if everything goes as intended with the floating islands, it will involve all the power types, probably not parental, unless we really want to have a joke island in there of some sort, but probably not parental. Actually, it's kind of neat. Earlier I was describing it as there's these 2 phases of cheese collection where you go visit the different power type islands. And we wanted to incorporate there when you travel to an island, there's a little checkbox that says, use my favorite setup for this island. So that one of the challenges with an area that involves every single power type is there's a lot of changing your trap setup. And it might be a little bit tedious, especially as the months go on if you're chasing some longer term goals there. So that was one thing we want to do when you're on an island. You could, whatever is currently equipped, you could, cool, save this. This is my physical setup. This is what I want to use. And when you travel, kind of the default behavior can be, hey, I'm going to change your trap when you move to this island. But then it's a checkbox if you want to say, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I'll opt out of that. Monkey King says, have you considered making a MouseHunt TV show or movie, perhaps collaborating with studios to make it animated? That did cross, I think, years ago, Joel's mind, but hasn't come up since. Dave eats an orange. Write that down, yeah. It really is a fantastic orange. Brian says, woo, it's been an hour. Yes, I should go. I should definitely go. Finish this orange if nothing else. Let's see if I can finish off the chat here. Free Schmidt says, man, now I'm sad we're out of oranges. Glad you have good ones at your house. Well, like I said, I've been trying to go to the grocery store once every 2 weeks just to kind of limit my outings. And so the first week is kind of fresh food and produce kind of week, which I'm in right now. And then the second week is like dig into the pantry. You're eating a lot more carbs and starch week. So it kind of goes. Probably not the healthiest for the digestive tract to not have too many fresh fruits and vegetables for the second week. But there's frozen vegetables. Those count too. They're just not quite as yummy as fresh. Is it freezing up for anyone else's or is it my local internet? It's quite possible. Maybe my software is not liking me being on for an hour. Finish off the chat before I eat any more orange. Suzanne says coronavirus diet varies. Some farmers here in the U.S. are plowing under crops, I have heard. Interesting. Wendy says, yes, it is New Zealand wine. There we go. The Oyster Bay is from New Zealand. And I don't know why that was in my memory bank somewhere. I think I've had it years ago. Free Schmidt says, not freezing for me. Monkey King says, I've been playing this game for many years now. It'll be nice to see this game and its beautiful art reach more audiences. I agree. That's a nice sentiment. Brian says, all power types, even Rift. Ooh, actually, no, I believe not Rift. Now you got me curious here. I should know these details. Actually, next week, I think I'm finally ready to at least set up the gameplay spreadsheet for the area. Which will be quite the undertaking, putting all the mice in there, and they're going to need their catch rates against every single power type. It's going to be a very wide table, I think. Let's see here. Let's see if you included Rift. Maybe I can include a spoiler here. That'll probably end the stream very quickly, me trying to put up a screenshot. Yeah, correct. It's every power type except 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 power types. So no, Rift is left out, just because the kind of the unique interface to choose which island you're going to customize the island you're going to visit. It wants 8 as a kind of a magical number for that interface, so there cannot be a 9th. I think that would have to be some sort of hidden Easter egg or something if we wanted to do anything. I will eventually finish the chat. Tarako says even Rift echoed. But no, so sorry to confirm. I did say every single power type except parental, but it did slip my mind. Rift is not involved. Beth says it's 2 a.m. here. Think I'll go and sleep. Enjoy your lunch. Well, good night, Beth. Sleep well. I am going to wrap up here too as well. I think I got 4 more chat messages to read. Sharon says if you have a stay-at-home mice, parental could be very effective. Mango says the name rhymes with its color. Not sure what you're referring to there. Jonathan says correct, not Rift. Caleb says, will both Tribal Isle Rift and Floating Islands be released at the same time? No, there's no plans for the Tribal Isle Rift. Just other than when we do another Rift location, that'll probably be the next one. Hermione says, sleep well. And also, Michelle says, we could just keep that going. I don't know. I've almost caught up now. Michelle is on a couple more. Mango Jimson says, orange. All right, I'll take a bite of orange. I have to ration these oranges. One more orange slice down there, so the mighty tempting. Xavier says, just came in. What did I miss? You missed me eating an orange and a bunch of other MouseHunt related things as well. Hermie says, extend chat. Brian says, extending. Mango says, thumbs up. Alex says, Trap Dave here forever. And KDM says, what about... Ooh, somebody else says something. KDM says, what about Rodentia Rift? That one's a bit of a challenge because it spans... we were theming them after the regions. But the areas in Rodentia kind of span so many titles, themes, and gameplay. But I wouldn't rule it out. But in some ways, we're either going to kind of maybe come back to that in a creative way, or it would kind of get skipped. But we'll see. Nothing in stone, obviously. We haven't started work. It's more of just kind of random ideas floating around here and there from players and other devs on the team. Column says, 1 more hour of him eating. There's not enough orange for that. Hermie says, no orange. Alex says, there's only 1 of him and 79 of us. That is true. I'm outnumbered. Column says, Living Garden Rift. And I think, if anything, that would probably conclude the storyline, because that was the start of the Rift storyline, was Twisted Carmine opening up the other dimension. You got your Rift base there. That's kind of the Twisted Garden. That's kind of already the Rift version of the Living Garden. So there's that. This was a silly idea to try to finish off the chat before I go. KDM says it took half a minute out of him. Tribal Isles Rift, it's just not Tribal Isles again. Rift Dragon, that does sound epic though. Ashley Woods says it's Archduke, right? The floating island. At the moment, yes, we're planning Archduke. Actually, that was another little feedback question. I should probably save that for another week though, was I think the size and the scale of an area might be a good opportunity to kind of add 1 or 2 little bonus things that you need a higher title to do. So think kind of like, we haven't done it forever, but the Zugzwang's Tower. You can charge your amplifier a little higher if you're Baron or if you're Count. Yeah, Lord, Baron, Count. Lord, Count, Baron. I'm having trouble remembering that now. It's probably because I'm losing my mind from being on over an hour here. So I don't know. You can kind of let us know your thoughts on that as well. Kind of brought that up with the team. We'll see. I mean, no guarantees that we would do that, but I was interested to know if players would be interested in that. Have a little Viceroy kind of bonus thing. Maybe, I don't know if it would be a unique mouse, maybe not, but kind of a unique ability or something you can do there. Tribal Isle Rodentia Rift, 5 years later, new Rodentia. Yeah, no guarantees. But if we did keep going with Rift locations, that would probably be next. Is it coming next week? No. Stay safe. Like the title bonuses. Cool. Jason agrees. Good idea. Title bonuses are cool. Okay, so a little bit of love in the chat. We'll see if we come up with any interesting ideas there. Monkey King, I am the Monkey of Kings. Okay, now I think we might be getting into nonsense. Viceroy bonus sounds cool. Does higher rank still increase your catch rate? No, I don't think even ever did title affect your catch rate. Unless I'm like mistaken some super old ancient feature, but no, it gives you access to better traps, but that's about it. Good to have new areas as title goes up. Viceroy area next. Once we kind of flesh out, we kind of aim where there's enough content, so the amount of time it takes you to complete that title, there's kind of enough adventures to at least sink your teeth into a good chunk of that. So yeah, definitely someday. But Floating Islands, I think, will be Archduke, because there's only 1 other Archduke area. Well, if you want to include the toxic spill. But anyway, Michelle says, bye, Dave. So that is my cue to skidoo on what is perhaps one of the longer Feedback Fridays in history. Thank you for joining me, Hunters. Thank you for the feedback on the Great Nanian Games mice and how we're going to incorporate them into the tournament hall. By all means, I'm going to post a summary, so keep your thoughts and ideas going there. If you think of anything else Great Nanian Games themed as well, it'd be good to bring those up, and we'll kind of see if we can find a creative but easy and simple way to implement those. Otherwise, it will probably just kind of keep it simple and low scope for sure. Stay safe, everyone. Likewise to you as well, everybody. Stay safe, take care, and it'll be Jake up next week, most likely, if he's assuming he's available. Otherwise, you'll see me again. And so have a great weekend, evening, whatever you happen to be doing. As I find my outro slide, there it is. Happy hunting, everybody. See you next time.
Such a beautiful you, you're the master.
Jonathan brought up something very important that I meant to even put in my Feedback Friday notes. And I'll leave everybody with the thought, so please comment, maybe on the summary when I get it up. Should the lovely sports mouse be a sports mouse, a Valentine's mouse, or both? So that's one other little thing. I'm going to add that to my list of related content, the lovely sports mouse. Actually, I remember yesterday afternoon, somebody pointed that out, and I was thinking about it, and it didn't make it in my Feedback Friday. So there's lots of little tiny things. Something sounds so simple, but there's a lot more moving parts than anticipated. Sports mouse or both? So let me know. I'm going to post the summary on the tavern, in the tavern section of the forum. You can let us know what you think of that. All right, well, once again, goodbye. Have a great weekend, everybody. Catch you later.
Such a beautiful you, you're the master of the mausoleum. Look at me, barely at level 3. I am begging for a piece of gold. All the mice, all the terrible mice that you naturally attract to you. I wait with the trap and the bait, and they ain't biting in 1,000 years. I'm waiting on a mouse today. Any help will be just fine. I may not be a hero, babe, but I'm willing to give it a try. I'll lay my trap by yours, and you will be my skull, and I won't care at all because I'm there. Look at you, such a beautiful you. I am caught up in the crazy game. Look at me, barely at level 3. I just know I'll never be the same. All the mice, all the terrible mice. If I had my way, I'd catch a ton. I wait with a trap and a bait, but they ain't biting on a single one. I'm waiting on a mouse today. Any help will be just fine. I may not be a hero, babe, but I'm willing to give it a try. I'll lay my trap by yours, and you will be my I hear